Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every person's life when they must choose between staying comfortable or rising to a higher version of themselves, and this choice shapes everything that follows. The eagle mentality is not about being the strongest or the fastest. It is about being the one who dares to rise when the world expects you to stay low, the one who chooses clarity over noise, growth over comfort, and purpose over excuses. An eagle does not fear storms. In fact, it uses storms to lift itself higher because it understands something we often forget, that challenges do not come to break you, they come to show you how far you can go. Rise above the noise, because noise is the enemy of clarity, and clarity is the beginning of every meaningful transformation. Noise can come from the outside world, but it can also come from inside your own mind. It shows up as fears, doubts, negative voices, comparisons, and expectations that don't belong to you. When you choose to rise above the noise, you are not pretending the noise doesn't exist. You are simply refusing to let it dictate the direction of your life. Most people stay trapped because they respond to every voice around them, every opinion, every distraction, every comment, and they forget that their purpose requires elevation, not reaction. When you rise above the noise, you create space between yourself and the world, and in that space, you finally hear your own truth. You understand what matters to you, what hurts you, what drives you, and what deserves your energy. You learn that not every battle is worth fighting, not every criticism is worth absorbing, and not every person is meant to be close to you. Rising above the noise means choosing stillness when everything around you is chaotic, choosing focus when everyone around you is scattered, choosing direction when the world is trying to pull you in 100 different places. It means learning the art of ignoring things that do not build you, because ignoring is not weakness, it is emotional strength. The eagle does not flap its wings wildly when the wind becomes loud. It becomes still, it observes, it adjusts, and then it rises higher where the noise cannot reach. You must learn to do the same in your own life. Sometimes the noise comes from people who do not understand your journey, and sometimes it comes from people who are afraid of your growth. Sometimes it comes from your environment, and sometimes it comes from your own habits that keep you average. Rising above the noise requires courage, because it means pulling yourself away from familiar patterns and choosing a level of discipline most people do not have. It means cutting down distractions, reducing unnecessary conversations, controlling your emotional reactions, and building a mental space where only clarity is allowed to enter. You rise above the noise when you stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You rise above the noise when you stop chasing validation and start trusting your own process. You rise above the noise when you stop letting temporary emotions make permanent decisions. You rise above the noise when you stop comparing your life with others and start focusing on your own lane. Noise always tries to confuse you, but clarity always brings you back to your purpose. Rising above the noise teaches you to protect your energy, your time, and your vision, because anything that drains you slows down your elevation. You learn that the world will always have something to say, but your growth depends on what you choose to listen to. You learn that success requires silence, not because silence is empty, but because silence is full of answers you cannot hear while drowning in noise. When you rise above the noise, you start seeing life from a higher perspective. Problems look smaller, people's opinions feel lighter, and your goals appear sharper. You no longer react to every disturbance because you understand that reacting keeps you on the ground, while rising takes you to a level where distractions cannot follow. Rising above the noise is a daily practice, a choice you make every morning to protect your inner world. It requires patience, self-awareness, and emotional discipline, but every step brings you closer to your best self. You elevate not by force, but by intention, by choosing peace over chaos, purpose over confusion, and focus over distraction. You rise because you finally understand that your life becomes extraordinary the moment you stop allowing noise to control your direction. Protect your vision, because without a clear vision, even the strongest wings cannot lift you toward the life you are trying to build. Vision is not just a picture in your mind. It is the silent force that guides your decisions, shapes your habits, and filters what deserves your attention. When your vision is strong, you stop living by chance and start living by choice. But a vision is fragile in its early stages. It can be shaken, doubted, questioned, and sometimes even ridiculed by the people around you. That is why protecting it becomes a responsibility, not an option. You must understand that most people cannot see what you see, not because your vision is unrealistic, but because it was never given to them. It was given to you, and only you know why it matters so deeply. Protecting your vision means holding on to it, even when circumstances try to convince you to let it go. There will always be moments when life tests your belief in what you're building. Some days you will feel motivated, and some days you will feel lost. Some days everything will work beautifully, and some days everything will fall apart at once. In those moments, your vision becomes your anchor. It keeps you steady, it reminds you why you started, it stops you from making emotional decisions that damage long-term growth. Protecting your vision means learning to sit with discomfort without abandoning your path. It means learning to walk alone without letting loneliness convince you that your dream isn't worth it. It means trusting the process even when the results are slow, trusting the journey even when the milestones feel far, and trusting yourself even when the world does not. Vision is also affected by the company you keep. The wrong people can blur it, shrink it, or twist it. They can make you doubt what you once believed in with full confidence. Protecting your vision means choosing your circle carefully, surrounding yourself with people who sharpen your clarity instead of feeding your confusion. It means distancing yourself from voices that drain you, discourage you, or distract you from your direction. You do not need a crowd. You only need a few people who understand your hunger or at least respect it. And sometimes the most protective decision you can make is choosing complete silence, because silence gives you space to reconnect with your purpose without interference. Protecting your vision also requires you to protect your habits, because habits are the bricks that build your future. If your habits are messy, inconsistent, or reactive, your vision becomes blurry. But when your habits are aligned with who you want to become, your vision becomes stronger and more real every day. This means sleeping with discipline, working with intention, thinking with clarity, and managing your energy like it has value. It means saying no even when saying yes feels easier, avoiding shortcuts even when shortcuts look tempting, and choosing long-term success over short-term comfort. Every choice either strengthens your vision or weakens it, and protecting it means being mindful of that truth. You protect your vision by feeding it daily. You feed it with learning, with patience, with discipline, with reflection, and with silence. You remind yourself that your vision is not just about achieving something, it is about becoming someone. It is about transforming into the version of you that your future demands. Protecting your vision means living in alignment, even when nobody is watching. It means refusing to allow fear, comparison, or noise to dim the image you hold inside your heart. It means remembering that the world only rewards clarity, and clarity only survives when it is protected. Choose growth over comfort, because comfort may feel safe, but it never helps you discover who you truly are or what you are truly capable of. Growth often begins in the uncomfortable moments, the ones where you feel uncertain, stretched, challenged, or exposed. When you choose growth, you make a quiet promise to yourself that you will not remain the same person you were yesterday. You decide to evolve, even when it means stepping into situations that test your patience, your confidence, and your discipline. Most people stay trapped in the same cycle for years because they choose the familiar over the unfamiliar, even when the familiar is silently destroying their potential. Choosing growth means choosing temporary discomfort for long-term strength, choosing difficult steps for meaningful progress, and choosing the unknown because you believe there is something better waiting on the other side. There will be moments when choosing growth feels lonely. You will look around and realize that many people are comfortable where they are, and they have no desire to climb higher. If you try to move, they may question you, criticize you, or pull you back because your growth threatens their comfort. And this is where your mindset becomes important. Choosing growth means valuing your future self more than the approval of the people who prefer you small. It means recognizing that you cannot rise if you are surrounded by a circle that is rooted. You must be willing to walk away from environments that limit you, conversations that drain you, habits that weaken you, and beliefs that trap you. You must be willing to outgrow versions of yourself that once felt familiar but no longer serve your direction. Growth is not always loud. Sometimes it is a quiet process of breaking old patterns, learning emotional control, practicing discipline, and teaching yourself how to face challenges without running from them. Growth means allowing yourself to feel uncomfortable emotions without escaping into distractions. It means being honest about your weaknesses without letting them define you. It means taking responsibility for your life instead of blaming circumstances, people, or luck. Choosing growth means committing to something bigger than your excuses. It asks you to work when you don't feel like it, to focus when your mind wants to wander, and to continue when quitting feels easier. Growth requires you to show up, not perfectly, but consistently. When you choose growth, you understand that failures are not signs to stop, but signals to adjust. Every mistake becomes data, every obstacle becomes training, every setback becomes preparation. Growth teaches you patience because meaningful change rarely happens overnight. It teaches you resilience because the process will challenge your inner strength. It teaches you clarity because the more you grow, the more you understand what you truly want. And slowly, you begin to realize that the discomfort you once avoided has become the place where you find your biggest breakthroughs. It becomes the environment where you sharpen your skills, strengthen your mind, and find parts of yourself you never knew existed. Choosing growth over comfort is also choosing your future over your past. It is choosing purpose over pleasure, discipline over ease, and long-term vision over short-term relief. Comfort keeps you stagnant because it tricks you into thinking that staying the same is safer. But the truth is, nothing is more dangerous than not growing. When you stop growing, you limit your opportunities, your confidence, your mindset, and your impact. Growth requires you to stretch your potential, reshape your habits, and elevate your standards. And every time you choose growth, even in the smallest decisions, you become a stronger, clearer, wiser version of yourself. Embrace the storms because the storms you face are not interruptions to your journey. They are an essential part of it. Storms come to shake you, stretch you, and show you a version of yourself that you would never discover in calm weather. When life becomes difficult, most people panic, resist, or run, but the eagle mentality teaches you something different. When the storm becomes strong, you rise into it instead of away from it. You use its force to lift yourself higher. Embracing the storms does not mean you enjoy the pain or ignore the chaos. It simply means you understand that challenges carry hidden gifts: clarity, strength, resilience, and transformation. Every storm reveals your capacity. Every storm tests your direction. Every storm cleans your path by removing the things and people that cannot travel with you to your next level. There will be moments when the storm feels overwhelming, when everything hits you at once, when you question your progress, your decisions, and even your strength. In those moments, embracing the storm means grounding yourself instead of collapsing. It means reminding yourself that storms are temporary, but the growth you gain from them is permanent. Storms force you to slow down, reflect, adjust, and rebuild in ways you would never consider during easy times. They make you more aware of your weaknesses, more grateful for your blessings, and more committed to your purpose. They strip away your illusions and bring you face with your real capabilities. And when the storm eventually passes, you don't come out the same. You come out wiser, tougher, and more focused. Embracing the storms also means accepting that discomfort is part of evolution. No one becomes confident without facing fear. No one becomes disciplined without fighting laziness. No one becomes successful without confronting setbacks. Every stage of growth demands a version of you that only emerges in challenging conditions. Storms teach you emotional maturity because they push you to control your reactions, not let your reactions control you. They teach you patience because rushing never solves anything. They teach you introspection because you start looking within instead of blaming what's outside. And the more storms you embrace, the more unshakable you become. You stop fearing the next challenge because you know you've survived worse before. There is also something powerful about storms. They reveal who is really with you and who was only there for the sunshine. Some people disappear when life becomes difficult, and their absence becomes a blessing, not a loss. Storms remove distractions, expose false intentions, and highlight the relationships that truly deserve your time and heart. When you embrace the storm, you stop begging for support from people who were never meant to understand your journey. You learn to stand alone when needed, to walk alone when required, and to rely on your inner strength when the world becomes silent. The storm becomes your teacher, showing you that independence is not isolation. It is the freedom to keep moving even when nobody is clapping for you. Embracing the storms also builds humility. You begin to understand that no matter how strong you are, life can still test you. And instead of breaking down, you learn to bend, to adjust, to breathe through the struggle. You learn to let go of what you cannot control and focus on what you can. You learn to trust your ability to rebuild, even when you are standing in the middle of uncertainty. And somewhere within the chaos, you realize that the storm is not there to destroy you. It is there to sharpen you, to redirect you, and to prepare you for the heights that calm weather can never take you to. Value silence and solitude, because in a world full of noise, silence becomes the place where you finally meet your true self. Most people run from silence because it forces them to confront their thoughts, their fears, their mistakes, and their desires without distraction. But the eagle mentality teaches that silence is not emptiness, it is clarity. It is where you hear the voice you have been ignoring for years, the voice that guides you, warns you, and reminds you who you are meant to become. Solitude is not loneliness. Solitude is your personal workshop. It is the space where ideas grow, where direction forms, and where strength is rebuilt. When you choose silence, you choose awareness. When you choose solitude, you choose elevation, and these choices separate those who drift through life from those who transform themselves. In silence, you begin to understand your own patterns. You notice the habits that drain you, the thoughts that sabotage you, and the emotions that control you. You also recognize the dreams you buried under responsibilities, the ambitions you postponed, and the talents you never gave yourself a chance to explore. Silence brings all of this to the surface, not to overwhelm you, but to help you realign your life with who you truly want to become. Most of the breakthroughs you seek will never come from noise, arguments, or constant movement. They come from sitting with yourself long enough to understand what is wrong, what is missing, and what needs to change. Solitude teaches you how to become emotionally independent. It teaches you that you don't need constant validation, constant company, or constant stimulation to feel valuable. You learn how to enjoy your own presence, how to listen to your own thoughts, and how to trust your own decisions. You stop forcing connections that drain your energy, because solitude makes you realize that your mind becomes sharper, and your vision becomes clearer when you are not surrounded by every voice that wants to influence you. In this quiet space, you become your own guide, your own motivator, and your own support system. Value silence because it protects your focus. When you are constantly surrounded by noise, both digital and physical, your mind gets divided into 100 pieces and your direction weakens. Silence gathers those pieces back together. It teaches you how to work with deeper concentration, how to think with clarity, and how to make decisions without panic or pressure. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they lack focus, and focus cannot survive in chaos. It requires peace, space, and quiet thinking. When you give your mind silence, you give your goals a chance to breathe. Solitude also strengthens your discipline. When you are alone, there is no one watching, no one pushing, no one reminding you. Everything depends on you, and this is where real character is built. When you work alone, your consistency becomes genuine. When you think alone, your values become clearer. When you reflect alone, your understanding deepens. Solitude does not make you weaker, it makes you self-reliant. It trains you to keep going even when applause is absent and support is limited. Silence teaches you how to handle your emotions without reacting impulsively. It gives you the distance you need to process anger, disappointment, stress, and confusion. Instead of exploding, you observe. Instead of acting out of fear, you think. This emotional control becomes one of your greatest strengths because it protects your relationships, your progress, and your peace. Silence heals what chaos damages. Value silence and solitude because they allow you to filter what truly matters. You begin to separate your real desires from temporary impulses. You begin to understand which people bring value to your life and which ones only bring noise. You identify the goals that align with your future and the ones that distract you. In the quiet moments, the unnecessary fades and the essential becomes obvious. When you learn to value silence and solitude, you gain a power that most people never experience, the power to be guided not by noise but by clarity. Let go of the old to renew yourself, because no one can rise while carrying the weight of what they were meant to outgrow. The process of renewal begins with honesty about the habits that limit you, the beliefs that weaken you, the patterns that repeat your pain, and the people who no longer align with your growth. Most people cling to the old because it feels familiar, but familiarity is not the same as freedom. Letting go does not mean erasing your past. It means refusing to let your past define your future. Renewal requires space, and you cannot create space for new strength, new opportunities, and new versions of yourself if your hands are still holding onto what drains you. Letting go is uncomfortable because it exposes you to the unknown, but the unknown is exactly where your next chapter is waiting. Letting go of the old also means accepting that everything has an expiration date. Old attitudes, old emotions, old environments, and even old versions of you. The person you were in your past might have been enough for that time, but your future demands more from you. Renewal requires you to shed layers that no longer serve your purpose, just like an eagle removing old feathers to rebuild its strength. This shedding process can feel painful because it forces you to face parts of yourself that you've ignored for years. It challenges your ego, your comfort, and your identity, but without this shedding, you cannot rise to the next level of your life. Every step of growth asks you to leave something behind, an old fear, an old habit, an old excuse, or an old way of seeing yourself. Letting go also means forgiving yourself for what you didn't know, didn't do, or didn't understand back then. Many people stay stuck because they hold on to guilt, regret, and disappointment. These emotions act like invisible chains that keep them tied to moments that can no longer be changed. Renewal requires you to release these chains not by forgetting what happened, but by accepting that you have evolved past that version of yourself. You cannot rewrite your past, but you can redefine your relationship with it. You can decide to learn from it rather than live in it. You can choose to grow from it instead of repeating it. Forgiving yourself is one of the deepest forms of letting go because it gives you permission to move forward without fear. Letting go of the old also means changing your environment when necessary. Some places hold memories that keep you stuck, some routines keep you stagnant, and some people keep you small. When you outgrow a certain environment, you will feel it. Your energy becomes heavy, your motivation fades, and your inner voice whispers that you are meant for something more. Renewal requires the courage to walk away from places that no longer nourish you. It requires the strength to protect your energy from people who do not understand your vision. And it requires the discipline to break habits that make you comfortable but not fulfilled. Walking away is not betrayal. Sometimes it is the most powerful form of self-respect. Letting go also means letting yourself evolve without apologizing for it. As you grow, you will change, and this change may make some people uncomfortable. They will say you have become distant, different, or difficult, but what they don't realize is that you are not becoming someone else. You are becoming yourself. Renewal requires you to stop shrinking to fit into places you've already outgrown. It requires you to stop carrying relationships that no longer carry you. It requires you to stop holding on to versions of yourself that feel too small for your dreams. You are not meant to remain the same. You are meant to rise, to expand, to transform. Letting go of the old to renew yourself is not a one-time event. It is a continuous process. Life will keep presenting you with new challenges, new lessons, and new chapters, and every chapter will require a different version of you. Renewal is the courage to rise again, to rebuild again, to reinvent again. It is the understanding that you cannot receive what your future holds until you release what your past keeps. Fly with purpose, not with the crowd, because true elevation comes from direction, not from following the noise around you. Most people move in groups because groups feel safe. They follow trends, follow opinions, follow the majority, and follow expectations that were never their own. But when you fly with the crowd, you limit your height to the average of those around you. Purpose requires separation. It requires the courage to step away from what everyone else is doing and commit to what you were uniquely built for. Flying with purpose means your decisions are guided by intention, not by pressure. It means you choose your path based on where you are meant to be, not based on where everyone else is going. Purpose turns your journey into something meaningful, while crowd following turns it into a cycle of repetition, comparison, and confusion. When you fly with purpose, you stop seeking approval for every move you make. You stop doubting yourself when others don't understand your choices. You stop waiting for permission to become who you want to be. The crowd changes direction every day, but purpose remains steady. Purpose gives you clarity when others are lost, confidence when others are unsure, and discipline when others are distracted. Most importantly, purpose gives you peace, because you know that even if your journey looks different, it is right for you. You no longer feel the need to match someone else's timeline, lifestyle, or achievements, because your compass is internal, not external. Flying with purpose requires deep self-awareness. It demands that you understand what drives you, what fulfills you, and what your life is meant to reflect. Without this understanding, it becomes easy to copy others, to chase what they chase, and to desire what they desire, even when it doesn't align with your identity. When you move with purpose, you filter opportunities with wisdom. You don't say yes to everything because not everything serves your direction. You don't allow distractions to pull you into paths that don't belong to you. Purpose becomes your guide, quiet, steady, and powerful. It reminds you that you are not here to be part of every trend, every movement, or every crowd. You are here to master your lane, your craft, your growth, and your calling. Flying with purpose also demands patience. The crowd often looks fast from the outside, everyone moving, everyone doing something, everyone posting progress. But speed means nothing without direction. Purpose teaches you to move slowly when necessary, to build your foundation properly, to prepare before you launch, and to trust the timing of your own process. Many people quit because they compare their slow progress to someone